Hello, bookworms! Today I'm going to be doing the Mean Girls book tag, which is right up my alley. I saw this video on Sam from Thoughts on Tome's channel, and I love Mean Girls so much. Like, it's probably the most quotable movie of all time in my life. My friends and I just constantly are saying the lines to each other. Like, there's always something relevant for whatever's going on in life. And my other friend and I actually have had a blog that's called On Wednesdays We Wear Pink, which I'll link down below. That's more of like a news type site, and we've been doing that for, what is it, maybe like 5 years now or something, 5 or 4 years, I can't remember, but it's been a really long time. And that's based on Mean Girls, so I just love Mean Girls. So even though I wasn't tagged, like, I knew that I had to do this one. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. So the first one is, it's pronounced like Katy. Which fictional characters' names did you get completely wrong? For me, that is going to be in Harry Potter. In the first book, I'm actually holding the fourth one because this was the easiest one to get to, but I remember being 10 years old. The book came out just a month before my 11th birthday, and I remember reading it and loving it, but thinking that Hermione was pronounced Hermione. I've never seen a name like that before, so that's what happened in my head. And then when the movies came out, I was like, oh, I was very wrong. And by that point, I had already read a few books, so I had to kind of like train myself to get out of saying it that way and start saying it the correct way. The next one is, she doesn't even go here. Which character would you like to place in a fictional world from another book or series? And for me, I would have to say Selena from Throne of Glass. I would just love to throw her into the Pretty Little Liars universe, because I feel like she would find out who A was like immediately. There would be no need to have, what is it, like 16 books, because Selena would be like, all right, I figured the whole thing out, because she's super smart, and she is very badass. She would not let anybody take advantage of her or blackmail her, no matter what they were saying that they were going to do. And I also think that Selena would adjust really well to technology. I could just see her like loving living in the current world. It would be like perfect for her. Next is, on Wednesdays we wear pink, which is what I'm doing. And the question is, repetition, repetition. Which book gave you deja vu of another book whilst reading it? So I can't actually find my copy right now, but Dash and Lily's Book of Dares felt exactly like reading Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist to me. It's the same two authors, Rachel Cohn and David Leviathan, and it was just like, the love story was basically the same thing, and the main characters had a lot of similarities, just they replaced like music with books. So I loved it. Like, it was really enjoyable, and I liked reading both of them, even though it was the same thing essentially. Next is, you have got to stop calling each other sluts and whores. It makes it okay for guys to call you sluts and whores. Which book gave you the complete opposite of girl power feels? This is a recent read of mine that I have said that I did not like, even though everyone else seems to really love it. I just hate it. And the reason that I'm saying Outlander is because there was just a lot of like rape, and like the husband beats the wife at one point, and they just try to like rationalize it and make it okay. And I understand that it is a different time period, but that just doesn't make it enjoyable to read, in my opinion. I just couldn't get into it, and I did not feel like it represented females very well. Next is, you Go Glen, Coco. Name a character you felt like you wanted to cheer on whilst reading. For that, I have to choose Quoth from The Name of the Wind, because he is just constantly getting into different things, and it always seems like he's going to be in trouble, and he's always cutting it really close with money, but you're always rooting for him. You always want it to work out for him, and it doesn't always, but sometimes it does, and he's very clever, so you just like want to see him figure out whatever situation he's in. The next one is, get in, loser, we're going shopping. How long do you typically spend at a bookshop? The answer to that is hours. I spend hours in bookshops. The only time that I spend less time is if I am running to like Barnes & Noble on my lunch break, in which case I can only spend 40 minutes, and then I'll usually like go online and set things aside before I even run there, so that I have the maximum amount of time to just like see what might be new that I might have missed. But otherwise, I could literally be in a bookstore the entire day and be completely happy and satisfied. The next one is, it's not my fault you're like in love with me or something. Which character would have to get a restraining order on you if they were real? And for me, I would have to say Kath from Fangirl, because I just feel like we would be destined to be best friends, and I could picture us reading like really funny fan fiction together. And I know that like Kath obviously doesn't really like going out that much, so I feel like it would be difficult at first to get her to hang out, but I would totally break her and we would be BFFs. Number 8 is, I can't help it that I'm popular. Which overhyped book were you cautious about reading? For that, I would say The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I always get nervous when I have to say her last name because I just like cannot do it. I really, really enjoyed this book. Everybody was talking about it for months before it came out, and I just heard so much about it, so I was really worried that it wasn't going to live up to it, but it absolutely did. Everything about it was so good, and I'm so excited for the next book, which I think is called The Rose and the Dagger. Number 9 is, she's a life ruiner. She ruins people's lives. We all love Regina George. Name a villain you just love to hate. And for that, I would have to say Captain Hook, which I think a lot of other people would say too. And judging by how many books there are about Captain Hook, just like humanizing him and telling his side of the story, I would say that a lot of other people are also fascinated in Captain Hook because he is just such a good villain, because you also have to wonder, like, is he really a villain? This little boy has just been antagonizing him for so long. He's just really, really fun to read about, in my opinion. Next is, that is Sofetch. Which book or series would you love to catch on? For that, I would say Nantucket Blue and Nantucket Red, which I've talked about a few times, but these contemporaries were just so, so enjoyable, and they're absolutely perfect for the summer or the winter when you're wishing that it was summer. You will fall in love with the characters. Like, I tend to read a lot more fantasy than contemporary, but this series, like, held my interest so much. They're both like pretty short reads, and they are just very, very interesting and entertaining. There's always something happening, so you really just like, these are just like page turners, and they're really, really good. Next is, how do I even begin to explain Regina George? Describe your ideal character to read about. So for me, I would say for contemporary books, I tend to like mature, introverted, bookworm female protagonists, and for fantasy protagonists, I tend to like mature, skilled, introverted, bookworm protagonists. So they're both like kind of similar, but in the fantasy realm, I like to read about a character that's much more outgoing and much more, like I said, like skilled and just willing to take risks, whereas contemporary, I like to read about people that I can relate to a little bit more, so I like to read about more of like the introverts that are staying in and coming out of their shells, so to speak. Like, I just love those stories. Next is, I just have a lot of feelings. What do you do when a book gives you a bad case of the feels? So for me, I write about it on my blog, I gush about it on Goodreads, and if I want like an instant conversation, I'll head over to Twitter, and it's so much fun to just like talk about books with other people that have read them. The one thing about Twitter is that I always try not to like say anything spoilery, because you don't want to spoil it for anyone else who has done it. So if you're friendly with someone, then you can send DMs and get more into it. But otherwise, blogs and Goodreads are like the way to go for me. Next is, nice wig, Janice. What's it made of? Your mom's chest hair. Which characters' one-liners would you love to claim for your own? For that, I choose another recent read, and I would choose Harper Price from Rachel Hawkins' Rebel Belle. Harper is just such a great character. She has so many one-liners, so many pop culture references. She is just really overall very entertaining, and I could definitely see myself being friends with her, but also wishing that I had her quick wit. And then last is, boo, you whore. Name a time that a character's decision made you roll your eyes. So for that, I would have to choose just about every single choice that Rachel made in The Girl on the Train. I'll put it there. I actually lent the book to my mom, so I don't have a physical copy with me right here, right now. But Rachel is an alcoholic, and she just makes a ton of really poor decisions, and I just wanted to shake her and be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So every time that she would make another bad choice, I would just be like, no. So that is it for the Mean Girls book tag. I will tag some people down below. And I hope that everyone does this one because it's so good. Like, Mean Girls is just amazing. So mashing up Mean Girls in books was a brilliant idea. So, oh, I'm also going to link down below to the original creator of the tag because, as I just said, she is clearly a genius. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys soon with a new one. Bye!